Okay, sorry guys. I am trying so hard to get this tripod to stay put, and then I finally get it where I want it, and then something happens and I have to rechange it again. And sorry. Okay. All right. There. Okay. So I had started recording, and then I said the name Lucifer, and the video stopped. Yeah. Okay. So after the few videos I'm going to be posting, they got broken up because the information that is about to be revealed, the information that is about to be released in these videos is going to help elevate God's chosen, God's children to the next level. Okay? And so he had me keep reading the book of Esther. And if he's leading you to purchase the book, I suggest you buy it. And don't just read it because you want to read it, because it seems something intriguing that God is leading you to read. Read it according to his will. I bought this book and I read the first chapter, and that's all I read for almost an entire year. Now he has me back in the book, but only in certain things and only on certain parts. So you have to listen to God and his leading, because you can take things out of context. You can take things and go, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then you're off to the races and you're in the wrong direction. And now he's got to redirect you and bring you back. Okay. So in this portion of the book, the author is talking about the manifestation of wisdom and how it is applied in our influential relationships of women. Okay? The relationship between a wife and a husband, mother and a child, mother and daughter, friend and a friend. And when this video cut out, I was talking about the relationship between me and my friend, my old boss from 30 years ago. And I have to be very careful that I maintain it as a friendship, because Lucifer could easily start sticking his ideas and manipulation and all these things. So I've got to make sure that I am always responding, not just in a friendship mindset, in a friendship attitude, in a friendship vocalization, but that I'm thinking and I'm feeling in my heart as a friend. And that can only happen if I allow God to lead me in how I reply, in how I interact, in how I connect with this man. Because this is a man and he is married. And so I don't want, because of my misunderstanding or because of my ill step, that I am going to lead this man into temptation or into a path of doing something that is going to cause him to walk away from God's word or God's way of being. You know, he is a child of God. I talk to him about God and he listens. He has not said a word in rebuttal or given me any problems about speaking God. He speaks God back to me. So in essence, I am keeping the friendship ahead of anything else, because that is what God showed me when he showed me David. He showed me when Saul was coming against David, when Saul had heard the prophecy of God that David was chosen to be king, because God was not happy with the way that Saul was reigning, because he had stepped away from God's will. Saul wanted to kill David, and the person who knew about the plans was Jonathan. And God led Jonathan to go and support and defend and protect David, so that David would survive to become king. Now, if we look at it this way, this man came into my life 2 weeks before the accident of Mariah. And because of the interaction that I was having with him, because of the feeling of support, the feeling of friendly love from a person that I trusted and was my mentor when I was a child, I was able to keep my heart from hardening or from looking at this instance in a moment of something other than what God wanted me to look at it as. He protected my heart. He protected my mind so that I wouldn't be lost. So then the author goes on to describe the virtues in Proverbs 8. Okay? The virtues of prudence. And then he talks about how Esther was prudent. So Esther was prudent by recognizing that in order for her to be able to go against the consequences of death, okay? Because it was an act, if you went before the king without being summoned, it was the law that you would be put to death. And so she was understanding of that. And she recognized, and if I'm going to go before the king, I got to go before the real king. And I got to ask him to bless me, to give me enough peace and in the words and the things that I needed to do in order to be in front of the king and ask for my petition of my people. This is what Esther had to do. And then there was instruction. She understood that fasting breaks pride, brings humility. Wait, no. Then there was instruction to teach discipline, sorry. So the instruction was, everybody needs to fast right now. No ifs, ands, or buts. Everyone's got to do it. From every province, every single person. She understood that. And she had discipline to be able to carry out that fast and give those instructions out. And then she had understanding. To understand the problem. To understand her decision to go before the king. She's like, okay, if I'm going to go before the king, then I need them to do this with me. I need them to petition the one true king to say, hey, we need you to soften Asaria's heart so that we will not be killed. And then she had to have knowledge of how the palace conducted its business. She understood that by preparing a banquet for the king, it would be different than if she went to the king directly and said, hey, I need you to help my people. She went to him in the essence of celebration of the king. She went to him and said, I'm not here in a royal capacity. I am here as your wife to invite you to a banquet, which is different. And because now he is coming to her, she now has the opportunity to ask for her request. And the next thing is righteousness. She had righteousness to be able to conduct herself in the right behavior, to be able to speak to the king with conviction and understanding. And she spoke boldly to him, asking him to save her people. The circumspection that came next was time for Esther to gather the facts. So between the time of the banquet and the request of the king attending the banquet, she had time to say, okay, what are the facts? What are the things that are true? What are the things that have occurred that are causing the distress of my people? And she presented those facts according to the truth, that the steps that were taken in secret created a situation that was now going to cause her people to be destroyed. And because she performed with excellence, she was superior to all of the other things that had been done in secret. And she excelled at everything she put her hand to because she understood that it was God who had the power. She bowed to the one power that can control all. And the next thing she had was discretion. When she prepared the meal for the king, she was discreet. She didn't go out babbling, telling everyone, hey, the king's coming to a banquet at my place, and, gloating. None of that. But what she did do was she took the time to think about and to assess the king's frame of mind towards Haman. So she could phrase her words in such a way that he would not look at her as trying to deceive him or trying to destroy an innocent man. And then the next thing she showed was fear of the Lord, because she feared God more than she feared the king. She feared God would replace her with someone else, that God would move her out of the way because she wasn't obedient to his leading. So she decided that because her cousin was afraid and she wanted him to overcome his fear, and she wanted him to overcome the thought that she was indifferent to their peril, to what was going on with the Jews. And her respect and her awe for God outweighed her human fears. That is how I've been following God. I'm afraid. I'm afraid every time I'm about to take a step. In fact, I am about to take another step. And before I took that step, I made that phone call. I felt fear. I felt anguish. But I sat with God. I sat with God to understand what it was he was trying to do. And through prayer and fasting, God releases his judgment, his justice. And this is where I ended up, at Isaiah 9. And he had me in Isaiah 9, verses 2 through 7. And this is what he showed me. He's been having me write in a journal the main pieces of a situation that occurred. And so today, this morning, it began by writing the fast. And what did the fast release? The fast released wisdom, Proverbs 8. And then God showing me how Proverbs 8 played out in my life in the last few days. Because like Esther, I had to understand what was happening in the spirit. He didn't lead me to pray for Mariah, for the grace had run out. But he led me to pray for my sister, who was dealing with a counterfeit situation that mirrors mine. Because when I first got confirmation from God the second time, I did not completely accept. One, because to my human eyes, he wasn't available. He wasn't free. To my human eyes, he was indifferent to me. He was uncaring of my situation. But through our conversations, through our connection with each other, God began to peel back the layers and to show me the truth behind the scenes. He has given me visions. He has given me dreams to show me what this man is going through in his life. And I have understood that throughout the time that we have been friends, God has used me as a friend to, in that moment, speak a word of praise, speak a word of comedy, speak a word of just letting him know how much I appreciate him and how much I look forward to meeting someone like him. And God has used our conversations. He says, don't open the eyes of, don't try and open love before it's time. But I showed him love in a different manner. I showed him the love of a friend, the love of a sister. The last love I will show him is the love of a wife, the love of God through the wife. And he will see a different kind of love. But in this moment, God has me as a friend. And I'm not overstepping my bounds. I ask God, how should I speak to him? What should I say? What is it that you want to speak through me? And God always gives me the words. Because as soon as I start to do the work that he is asking and putting forth before me, the words come to me. So on Tuesday, this older woman came through the door. She's a regular. Doesn't come very often, but she is a regular. And she buys one slice of cheese pizza. Now, she did complain about the fact that the cheese pizza hasn't been tasting correctly. And the reason for that is because they don't treat the cheese pizza like they do the pepperoni or the specialty or some of the other pizzas which are more popular. They tend to leave the cheese laying out, and it gets dry and it doesn't taste as good or as fresh as some of the other pizzas. So God is showing me through her that they need to take care of all of their products, not just the popular ones. Because the people that eat the popular ones are a lot of people. But the few that eat the not so popular ones also should be cared for. Eyes to see and ears to hear. God is dropping nuggets. Oh my goodness. Okay. And so she called me on Wednesday. She called me on Wednesday and asked me to come in and asked me to give her a call. I saw the phone call, but I was getting ready for work. I was already, I had slept in. God was like, sleep in, sleep in. I'm like, okay, so I got dressed and then I saw the number, but I didn't recognize that it was her because I didn't hear her name when she said it. And so I sent her to voicemail. And I finished getting ready for work and I was on my way. Now my phone, because of the service that I have, my phone has this ability of sending me text messages of the people who leave messages. And I read what her message was, but God said, don't call her back. You don't have a way to put your headphones on because I didn't bring the wired ones. I had the wireless ones, but those don't take phone calls. They do, but it's a mess. Anyway, so when she came into the store, she was asking for us to provide her information on someone who cleans houses. And I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, I'm looking for a lady that will come into my home and will clean my house for 6 hours. She goes, I provide lunch, I provide drinks. It's not like I have you working every hour, every minute of every hour. It's a leisurely work. It's, but I pay $25 an hour and I'm looking for 6 hours of work. And I said, I used to clean houses. I said, I could do that for you. So she asked me to give her my number, and I did. And I said, God, let it be your will and not mine. And I have been mulling over, because when she sent me a call, when she left me a voicemail, I didn't listen to the voicemail. Instead, I sat with God and I said, God, how do you want me to go about this? God, is this from you? Is this something you want me to step into? Is this something you want me to do? And then he started leading me to look at my hours for the week. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a little short. And he goes, talk to Will. Ask Will if you can work on Friday. I'm like, okay. So I asked Will, and Will's like, yeah, sure. You want to come in on Friday at 4:30? Go for it. I'm like, okay. But then I started to get fear. What if this woman wants you to come in on Friday and you're not going to be able to? And I said, then I'll just tell Will something came up and I can't make it, and he'll understand. And then I started to get, but you made a commitment. Now you're going to back out of your commitment? And I knew that wasn't God. Because if it was God, God would have said, it's okay. You can back out of a commitment. Or he would have said, no, she is not going to have you work that day. She's going to have you work different days. But I didn't respond right away. Instead, just like when God led me to put that week of vacation on the worksheet for our schedule, he didn't say, because I was going to tell them, I'm going to turn my week notice, my notice in. And he said, no, put it on the schedule that it's vacation time and tell them it's tentative. Because Lucifer was trying to get me to quit before the girls quit so that they would stay and I would go. But instead, God led me to put vacation time. And because I put vacation time, I then found out Carla was leaving. And then I retracted and I said, oh, I don't need the week off. And he goes, why not? Aren't you going to go see your family for the funeral? And I said, well, it started to turn into more of a party. And I said, and I don't want to be involved in that. My family celebrates by throwing parties. But God had led me to use my uncle as the reasoning behind me asking for a week off. Don't believe, judge. It's up to you. Everyone has choice. So this morning, as I'm finishing the recording for the previous videos that you were going to see I already posted one, but I'm going to post the others. I think the second one just finished posting. I realized it was 9 o'clock. So I called this woman up, Sylvia. And this is how she started her conversation. I need a helper. And I knew, this is you leading me this way, Father. If I had not agreed in calling this woman, I would have lost out on the potential opportunities that Father is bringing to me through these people. Now, this woman is wealthy. Now, that doesn't mean I'm looking for her money. I'm not. I am looking to see what God is going to bring into her life, because she's been riddled with health issues. She said to me, I was a healthy 70-year-old. I was at the top of my game, and suddenly I turned 80, and it's like my body started to fall apart. And I know what that means. Someone in her life is doing witchcraft over her, is jealous over her, is speaking evil over her, because they want what she has. They want what she is doing. She moved to Boise to be with her grandchildren, to see them. They're older now. But she thought, maybe this will be a chance for me to want to live, to be closer to my grandkids and see them and enjoy them every day. And she said she hated it there. Maybe she brought something back from there that she doesn't realize is full of witchcraft. And this is where God is good. So he brought me to Isaiah 9. And he started me on verse 2. And he says, the people walked in darkness, but they have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. They have multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. They joy before the according to the joy in harvest. In other words, that they rejoice before they have even received a harvest. They're rejoicing off season. They're not rejoicing because God is giving them a harvest or because God is moving in their lives. They're rejoicing because their hands have created something. And as men rejoice when they divide the spoil, for thou hast broken the yoke, for God has broken the yoke of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. The government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end, upon the throne of David, and upon his kingdom, to order it, and to establish it with judgment and with justice, from henceforth, even for forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. And this is how God opened my eyes. And he said, because the place this woman lives is just down the street from where I work. Literally just down the street. So every morning I can go to work. I can Uber from there to her house. And not worry that I'm going to spend exorbitant amount of money. And God is going to lead me to let her know that my car broke down, but that I will be Ubering over to her, and not to worry that it's I will incur the cost, not her, so that she doesn't think that I'm going to add that to her tab. But God showed me, just Emily said, he would slowly be increasing my territory. And he is, slowly. Remember, I went to interview for a position that took me north of where I work now. And now he's taking me west of where I work, because he told me the city of this wealthy area is my territory, and I am bringing God to it. So this is what God showed me, that he is expanding my land to include the folks who are wealthy, strategically placing me over a territory as queen. Because remember, God is a king, is a God who likes to play chess. And Esther was a queen. She was crowned before she was put in position to do exactly what she did. So I am about to move into position to be crowned, because I have, not me, God has defeated my enemies. And because I have been able to cross the board, the chessboard, I am now going to be crowned victorious. And because as I'm walking into this location, as I'm walking into this new territory, I will be praying, which my prayer will then be establishing God's order. And it will continue to bring the kingdom back. Because it's bringing the sphere of my presence is going to be influence. I am going to influence these people because God is going to put the words in my mouth. I am going to be able to speak life into these people because God is going to put the words in my mouth. I am a willing vessel, willing to look however God wants me to look. When I spoke to this woman, she asked me, why did I stop cleaning houses? And I said, oh, the business belonged to my mom. I did this when I was younger. And it's true. And the business that my mom owned, the person who raised me, was a business cleaning service for businesses. So we cleaned businesses. But we also, in the midst of those, we did clean homes. And she taught me how to clean those homes. She taught me how to use chemicals to make my job easier. She taught me how to focus my attention in certain areas that most other people don't even think of cleaning. I spent hours sitting with my grandmother cleaning her knickknacks. I spent time with the people who were teaching me for just a time as this. I was being prepared for this moment. I was being prepared for exactly this time. For I am no longer hidden. He is now going to put me out in the world. He is now going to put me out in the places where He needs me to speak His words. But not as a child walking in the world, but as a child walking with God. For you see, my children, my brothers and sisters, because God just highlighted, the remnant shall return to the Lord, which is Isaiah chapter 10.